Hi, everyone. Welcome welcome to our Pillar One Advisory Committee meeting. It's great to see all of you here today. As chair, I'm excited to kick off our discussion. Our committee would like to hear from our stakeholders and to bring together voices from diverse backgrounds across the state. Uh, so that way we would know what are the challenges that's currently in other counties and if they have some successes that they would like to share. Today we have an exciting lineup. We'll be hearing from Prince George's County and Montgomery County representatives, just Jennifer Arnaz, along with insights from the Office of Early Intervention. Additionally, we're honored to have Kathy Sipes from Notre Dame, an amazing advisor and mentor, joining us. Our focus today isn't just, the troubleshooting or talking about success. Rather, we're here to celebrate all the creative solutions to the issues facing the public and the private sectors in early learning. I encourage each and everyone to engage with our speakers, share your thoughts, and contribute to the contribution. Your perspective is invaluable as we work together creating a brighter future for Maryland's future. Thank you again for being here today. And let's get started. Remember, our goal is to provide insights and considerations to the AIB, who will ultimately decide what is best for Marylanders. My name is Ruby Daniels, and I am the chair of the Pillar One Advisory Committee. And I'm joined with my committee here. Dr. Ray, who's my co-chair, would start the introductions.
Try that again. Good evening, Dr. Miller, co-chair of the Committee One Advisory Committee, Pillar One Advisory Committee. Let me start reading my notes so I can talk. Let's see. I'll pass that to you, Jacob.
Hi, I'm Jacob Bennett, and I'm a kindergarten teacher in Harford County Public Schools.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gina Hoover. I am an early learning lead teacher or the early learning lead teacher in Washington County Public Schools. It's good to see everybody and welcome.
Do we know if Sakshi's here?
I am. Hi.
Okay.
Hi. I'm the student representative and I'm from Howard County.
Okay, now we want to introduce our guests. That we can get to that when we want to introduce our guests. And we have Jennifer Arnaz from Montgomery County.
Good evening, everyone. Jennifer Arnaz. I am the Administrator of Early Childhood Services, which sits in Montgomery County's Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you. Dr. Ray, you want to introduce the Prince George's guest that you invited?
Yes, Andrea Searcy from Prince George's County.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Miller, for inviting me to this evening. I'm Andrea Searcy. I'm the Early Learning Director for Prince George's County Public Schools.
And I see Lynette is connecting to audio, so we can come back to her.
Okay, Shannon Roberts from Office of Early Intervention.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Shannon Roberts. I'm the instructional facilitator in Howard County Public Schools for Early Intervention Services. Jen Riccardi sends her regards. She's at the board meeting today where they're voting on a budget. So I'll be presenting today. I also have my colleague Cindy Bouchard, who's here joining us as well this evening.
Okay, does Cindy want to introduce herself? Kathy Sipes.
Hi there. I'm Kathy Sipes. I am the academic advisor, one of the academic advisors at Notre Dame of Maryland University, and I also am the coordinator of the CCPDF grant there, which has grown to multiple exponentially really in the last year or so. I also work with the Dean Kathy Darity, to coordinate the Maryland Rebuilds Grant. And we also, within our School of Education, have an Elevates grant. All of them are focused on enabling early childhood educators to gain expertise through either certification classes and or master's degrees.
Thank you so much, Kathy. You're an amazing advisor. Lynette, can you join us and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Lynette Russell. I'm the instructional supervisor with Prince George's County Public Schools for early childhood special education. And I work jointly with Andrea Searcy. She is listening in, but can't really unmute. But I work with Andrea Searcy, who is the director for early learning in Prince George's County. So it's good to be here with you all.
Thank you so much, everyone. And I'm really excited to get this going. We'll start with the recap from Dr. Ray from the December 7th Pillar 1 Advisory Committee meeting. Do you have any highlights that you want to share, or
Yes,
from the previous meeting?
I do have a few highlights. As I go down, I'm just going to read what I noted from each presentation. So the first thing is that information from the meetings have been added to the joint chair report that was submitted. And I know Rachel updated us on that. Charles County, there's increasing numbers of pre-K classrooms. They're working towards getting their level 4 and accreditations going. They have an early learning launch, so they are providing school readiness kits and support with applications for their providers. In St. Mary's, we have that our providers are being included in the professional development, and there's a lot of family engagement going on. They have some training during the day for the grant. And then they're trying to offer it also in the evening so they can get more participation. And Frederick, we had some positions have been expanded. They have 48 provider seats, which was up from 24. In Baltimore City, they have 224 pre-K classes, 14 Judy centers working on accreditation. The paraprofessionals have been grandfathered in. And then some of the challenges that we noted were that it's still time consuming when completing the grants. Our providers still need a lot of assistance with the grant process. The grant money doesn't match. The grant amounts don't really match up for what needs to be done for the private providers to come up to public speed, should I say. And the alternative pathways, we still need some alternative. Oh, sorry. They said the grandparents have not been grandfathered in. Sorry, I probably wrote that down incorrectly. But there are alternative pathways is really needed so that our providers can get certification, because as we know, they work during the day. Also, I had another update when we met with the AIB board, and we just talked to them and really showcased what we do with Pillar 1's meetings and some of the challenges that our stakeholders have come up with and some suggestions. So what I really took away from that meeting was that the teachers that we need community teachers maybe to support private providers. That was a suggestion, if the LEAs could provide community teachers, that there could possibly be a hub that was developed to help, excuse me, to help with the registrations, to help with the grant writing. Those were really the major concerns that came out of that our providers really need more assistance so they can get up to speed, up to speed with the requirements, with the grant process. And then if there could be some way that we could establish a hub to help with registrations. I know some of the LEAs do have where they have like one application for private and public, but if we could figure out a way to have that for everybody. If anybody else has something they remember they want to speak to, go right ahead.
That is amazing, Dr. Ray. Yeah, well, in terms of the hub, there's a House bill presented by Delegate Solomon that's being heard in the House right now, and that will address the hub and as well as the waiver. And the other thing, also, we have some good news about the alternative pathways because we have Kathy Sipes here who's going to talk about it later on. Some exciting news. So stay tuned. Any other feedback from the other committee members?
I just wanted to say like one thing that I thought was really cool that I heard last time. I think it was St. Mary's County. They had like a family in person and virtual engagement opportunity to see what families wanted to see. And then based on that, they created day programs for all ages with like music, gym, and story time. And also Frederick County was like implementing research from their research study. And I just thought that was really cool because that was kind of analogous to what we're doing here because we're telling the blueprint what we want. And because of that, changes are being made. Thank you.
That is amazing, Sakshi. Those are very good points. So,
I'm just going to add on and say that she's correct. The report says it'll be available in February. So if we want to look for that, we can February. Oh, it's already February. So we should be looking for that.
Time's flying.
Right.
No, I think even from the last meeting, it's just always interesting when we hear from other counties and you know have representation from other counties because you know we're all learning this blueprint and we're all going through it at the same time and changes are happening and so you know I just know here in Washington County, obviously, you know, just learning it all and trying to figure it out. So I just always find it interesting on these meetings, just hearing from other counties and hearing what they do. And I agree, you know, trying to streamline the process between public and private and, you know, trying to get those private providers on board and things like that. So it's just always great to hear from other counties.
Yeah, which brings us to the next part of our agenda. We would like to hear from our guest speaker, and on our lineup, our first guest speaker is Jennifer Arnaz from the Administrator of Early Childhood Services, Department of Health and Human Services of Montgomery County.
So
Yeah.
good evening again. Good evening again, everyone. So this evening, Ruby had asked that I talk a little bit about some of the subsidy programs that we have in our jurisdiction that support families accessing high quality childcare. Montgomery County is the only jurisdiction that has its own subsidy program for childcare tuition. It really is it serves two purposes. One is to be a supplement for families who are receiving childcare scholarships. The cost of childcare in Montgomery County is much greater than other jurisdictions across the state. And so that supplement really helps them to be able to, the goal is to be able to afford, you know, their portion or eliminate their portion even of the balance left after the CCS has been applied to childcare tuition. The second piece is that our eligibility is a little bit higher than the CCS so that we're able to broaden also who we can serve. So families can either fall into the category of supplement or standalone. The WPA has been in existence now for, oh my gosh, over 25 years. We're very fortunate to be in a county that has really embraced a very robust early childhood system through our public agencies. The WPA is an eligibility program that serves families that are working or in an activity. It is aligned with the CCS in the sense that parents have to be involved in some activity, whether that's work or technical school or pursuing university classes. We ask for you know, proof of income, proof of residency in Montgomery County. We ask for proof of age for the child. We try to make this as simple as possible. And then on the provider side, so the parent, once once they are approved for a voucher, then on the provider side, they get to submit their invoices online. It mirrors very much the state's child care scholarship program. And as I said, we're very fortunate. I'm going to drop in the chat some of the promotional items that we have, which is a video and a poster, as well as the website, so you can see it after my presentation. These pieces that we have for promotion are across our county on buses, in waiting rooms, in all county lobbies. We have advertisements on Spanish language radio, on Asian, Chinese speaking radios. We put them in print in various newspapers. We have a WhatsApp channel. We really try to promote this through various modalities. And obviously, of course, as well as collaboration with our stakeholders and our community-based organizations. All of our promotional items are translated into about 6 different languages. We have a predominantly large Latino population, so Spanish speaking, and we have a very large, fast-growing Ethiopian population as well. So we try to be able to serve grassroots level, getting the information out into the community. To support this this initiative, this program, we also have family resource specialists that work in the community, informing and educating and raising awareness to not only families, but also to the child care providers. So when they're doing their own intake for their families, they can also promote these subsidy resources to families and hopefully access them. I also wanted to share a newer subsidy type program that we're offering. It's called EquiCare. EquiCare is different than the current voucher system in the sense that it is a grant that the child care programs will have applied for. We just launched our first lift of this. We've allocated approximately $2.2 million so that we can serve about 150 infants and toddlers. We are only focusing on infants and toddlers because right now we realize with the push with Blueprint, there's a strong focus on pre-K, and we want to jump ahead of the situation and make sure that no one is forgetting our babies. And so our infant and toddler seats, are the most expensive. And so this EquiCare grant, what it is, as I said, it's a grant in which child care providers apply for seats. And then we pay those seats at roughly, it's more aligned with cost of quality care versus market rate. So it comes out to roughly around $26,000 a year and prorated by month. We pay upfront to the program to fill those seats. And the child care programs then are the ones who are going to do the eligibility and approval for families to occupy those seats. It is for 6 weeks to 3 years. The idea is that while programs are serving these young babies, that they are helping families when their situation changes. If they can move into the CCS and WPA, then that will be streamlined. They can also possibly go to Head Start. And so we're trying to find different avenues to support families to be able to really, have affordable quality childcare experiences for their young babies. The one difference with the EquiCare is that we are not requiring a parent to be in an activity. So it really is strictly based on household income. And so our focus is on the child. Whereas with the other subsidy programs, the focus is on helping families, parents specifically, get into the workforce. So by being able to support and focus on the child, we open up the space into how many infants we can get into childcare seats. Any questions?
That is amazing, Jennifer. I think I'm going to move to Montgomery County.
We are very fortunate. As I said, we have a very dedicated government that is the space of early care and education. It's very robust. We currently have a county executive who has made it one of his platforms, early childhood education. We're very fortunate to have the spotlight. We do have an early care and education initiative that really helps to guide and inform these decisions that we make.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just refresh my, can you tell me again what's the acronym for WPA?
The Working Parents Assistance Program.
Working Parents Assistance Program. Yeah, that's amazing. And then the EquiCare, who applies for the seats? Is it childcare provider or is it the families?
So
Well-
the childcare provider will apply for seats. We have a minimum of 2 seats per family for family childcare and a minimum of 10 seats for childcare centers. So the program would apply and they'd be approved for the seats. And then they would, as families are coming in, they would do the marketing and find the families. We heard from many providers that they have families who just do not qualify for CCS or WPA because a parent, for example, does not work or is not in an activity. And so they were not able to afford the childcare. So we're hoping that this will fill in a niche and a gap really to be able to serve those children.
Yeah, and also maybe this could help families or working with parents who are sole proprietor, because I think
Yes.
that the biggest challenge for the CCS is they have no way of proving their income or
Correct.
their work schedule. So
Yeah,
this-
so this, as I said, it's really focused on the child, and the only thing we ask for is that they, show that you are under the 450th percentile in the federal poverty level of income, annual income for family, and that you live in Montgomery County, and that the child is 6 weeks to 3 years to qualify. So super easy.
Yeah, that is amazing. In fact, I was talking to Howard County Economic Development, and that is one of the things that we were that I mentioned, that some businesses, in order for us to attract the best and the finest, would be to offer something like what Montgomery is offering. Because if a working family is having a hard time finding infant spot and the infant spot is readily available, then that's the job and that's the place where they want to be. So that's really fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So let me just close by saying, a significant piece to this EquiCare, which is different than subsidy program, is that we are returning, we're the total cost of the seat is really based on the cost of care versus market rate. So that was done intentional so that we can ensure that the programs are also sustainable, because current market rates are just what we get for subsidy doesn't cover the true cost of care. And so we were very intentional by doing that.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Dr. Ray, you want to introduce your guest?
All right. So, Lynette, will you be speaking? Or
Sure, I can. What would you
All
like
right.
me to speak about?
All right, Lynette Russell from Prince George's County Public Schools.
What just an overview
thanks
of our
for
work?
bringing it. I'm here as well. So this is Lynette. We're just going to give an overview of what we've been discussing as far as our work in Prince George's County as it relates to the Pillar 1, focusing in on those responses that we're looking at right now. Prince George's County is the second largest school district. So currently we have over 220 pre-kindergarten classrooms. When we think about our split between our public seats and our private seats, we are at a 97% public, 3% private. We have 3 child care providers, as well as the Family Child Care of Maryland Alliance Group, which offers several family child care providers that we're currently working with, providing professional development to those teachers and working in collaboration with them to ensure that there are additional seats within the public community in Prince George's County. Our greatest focus, in addition to looking at expanding seats, which comes from our new building constructions, as well as our transition of our 6th graders out of our elementary buildings into middle school buildings. We're looking to be able to convert those classrooms to be pre-K appropriate classrooms. But in addition to looking at those expansion seats, we've been working really hard with accreditation and excels. The early childhood office is a small staffed office. So there are currently 6 individuals within the early childhood office that are supporting all 225 classrooms. And all of those programs exist within over 100 elementary schools needing to go through accreditation and hit that level 4, level 5 in Maryland Excels. So what we've been doing is establishing cohorts. And so each of our groups of schools are in groups of about 30 schools to make it what we considered manageable to be able to meet the blueprint goal of having all of our schools at a level 4 or 5. So we're taking anywhere between 30 and 35 school programs through the accreditation process every year. Our numbers have increased drastically, and we're on target to complete, at least for a first round of accreditation, all of our schools at the conclusion of the 2024-25 school year. But what we've noticed is that in addition to ensuring all of our schools have been accredited at least one go-round, we have another set of schools that are coming up that will be needing re-accreditation because their cycle will end by June 2025. So it's a little bit of angst on our end because that original number of just 30 new schools will now increase to over 60 schools between the new schools and the schools that are needing re-accreditation. Lynette, is there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, not at all. Thank you, Andrea.
In addition to the work that we are doing around accreditation, we've been really looking at our processes and how we are improving our practices as a school district. We've been working with our McKinney-Vento office to ensure our homeless families are able to get that immediate enrollment into our pre-kindergarten program, and ensuring that schools are aware that that displacement statement can serve as proof of income for our homeless families. We just continue to refine our practices within the district to ensure that we are meeting the needs of our families. We know that we have about half of our kindergarten students are sitting with us in pre-kindergarten seats. So working to ensure that at the school level, the instructional program within our pre-kindergarten classrooms is of high quality to ensure that we have more students that are coming to us kindergarten ready. Right about now, we have, when we look at the data for students that are in our pre-kindergarten program, about 40% of our students that participate in our pre-kindergarten program are coming to kindergarten, demonstrating readiness. So our goal is just to continue to work to improve that number and the quality of our classroom, while also working with our community providers to ensure that their teachers are receiving the same professional development as our teachers in the science of reading, mathematics, and social and emotional supports, so that they too can increase the quality of instruction and supports within the child care community. Dr. Miller, did I address everything, or is there more you'd like for me to share?
Yes, I would like you to just talk a little bit more about your alliance with the Family Child Care Alliance with the gentleman that you were talking about who
Yes,
provides.
Mr. Hudson. So
Yeah,
the
Mr.
Family
Hudson.
Child Care of Maryland, the Alliance Group has the pre-K expansion grant. They're one of the grantees. And as a part of that grant, and Lynette, if you could pull that up on the website, as a part of that grant, there are, I believe, 13 family child care providers within Prince George's County Prince George's County that are offering seats for 3 and 4-year-olds. So when we look at offering our professional development, we're reaching out to each one of those family child care providers to offer them the same professional development opportunities as our pre-kindergarten teachers. I believe across all of the programs, the child care providers and the Family Care of Maryland, the Child Care Alliance, that's about 134 seats, I believe it is, in Prince George's County. But under that family child care piece, the Alliance Pre-K, there are about 13 providers, family child care providers, that are offering seats within their homes for pre-K.
Andrea, I was gonna say I'm on an iPad, so I can't really pull anything.
Yeah.
But what was it?
No worries.
Maybe I
I think
can
it was
drop it in the-
13 family child care providers.
So I just have a question about the 97 97-3 split that you have, that you said with the public and private, are the 13 family childcare providers part of the 3%?
Yes, ma'am, they are. They are included, so that we consider what was involved with the Family Child Care Alliance. So we consider them to be one, because it's one grantee, but they're sub of the grantee. So I really, when I'm announcing those opportunities, there are 4 providers that we're working with, but we understand with Mr. Hudson's group, under his grant, we have those 13 family child care providers, but they're not 13 individual grantees of the grant. The grant is with the Family Child Care Alliance, and then those are providers that are under his grant.
Yeah, so I know Dr. Ray mentioned that Prince George's is looking into like a hub where the LEAs can apply for a grant and then have sub-grantees. Would that be a possibility in the future?
No,
I'm
I
not gonna
said that, I said
Go ahead,
that,
Brenda.
that we were asking the AIB to look into the hub. When we got to the end, that was some of our suggestions, not for Prince George's County. Sorry, I just want to make sure everybody knows that's not, we all want a hub. We all want a hub.
Yeah, because one of the difficulties that private providers are encountering is the grant application process itself. So, you know, if that can be, if that's a possibility that a hub can be created, multiple hubs, not just one single hub.
It is definitely something that could be taken under consideration. You know, one of the challenges would present with the staffing to be able to support such efforts. Just as an example, when it comes to the LEA or specifically early childhood writing grants, that's something that I myself as a supervisor, I'm leading that effort to write that grant by my, you know, and then it's reviewed by our grants management team. But there's not a team of individuals who are grant writing for the LEA. It's typically done by that department lead. So considering that when you're speaking of multiple child care providers, we would definitely have to consider the implications around staffing to be able to fully support that effort.
Yeah, thank you. Jacob, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just had a question since we're speaking with LEA. I thought I bring this up because I've been talking with specifically kindergarten and pre-K teachers across the state who work in our public schools. And one of the things I hear a lot from kindergarten teachers specifically is as their schools expand pre-K options, oftentimes kindergarten teachers are losing their classrooms with bathrooms because obviously pre-K needs to have a bathroom in their classroom, but then the kindergarten teachers end up teaching in a classroom without a bathroom just because, you know, when the school was built, it was built with kindergarten in mind, but not necessarily pre-K, so they only build so many classrooms with bathrooms. And, you know, one of the suggestions I had an educator come to me with was possibly the state providing funding for the construction of more little buildings on school campus grounds. So, you know, obviously not building whole new elementary schools, but building maybe a building that has 4 or 5 classrooms that are designed with early childhood in mind on the grounds of the school so that we're not losing the classrooms that are fit for kindergarten to pre-K and moving kindergarten into smaller rooms or into rooms without bathrooms. So I guess my question is, because you know, Prince George's County, I think, is years ahead of a lot of our LEAs in early childhood expansion, which is awesome. But did you find any hiccups like that along the way as you expanded pre-K? And if so, how did you address those hiccups so that your schools continue to have adequate space and infrastructure for your kindergarten programs?
That is a great question. As a former kindergarten teacher, I totally understand. That is definitely one of the things that we've had to look at as far as space availability within our schools. And so we've hit the point where we've expanded as much as we can within our current elementary schools because of just what you're saying, that spacing and wanting to be able to dedicate the appropriate size classrooms for our youngest learners. So it is that conversation with our CIP team as not something that we can solve instantly, but over time to be able to look to how can we convert those vacated classrooms of those middle sixth graders to be age appropriate classrooms for pre-K students. In working with the CIP, we also developed a plan on having what we called a pre-K center, which would be that smaller structure, not a full elementary school per se, but a smaller hub sort of to just house our pre-kindergarten students. So that is definitely one model where we've been working to make up the mock-ups and the layout for such a plan. If we could have the funding and the land to be able to build such a structure. And even more recently, there was an old building that was used for Prince George's County Public Schools some time ago, but it's currently being used by a community partner. We are actually taking ownership of that building and renovating that building to house just pre-kindergarten children. It'll have 10 pre-K classes in there. So we're pushing wherever we can so that we don't have to move those kindergarten classrooms into spaces where there are no bathrooms for the young learners. And then finally, with the construction of our new schools, every new school that is opening in Prince George's County has between 3 and 4 pre-kindergarten classrooms dedicated to its plan. So it'll account for the pre-kindergarten and the kindergartners in that community so that you're not having to do that movement. I hope that answers your question.
No, I think that's a great answer. And I think it's good for everybody to hear from you all because like I said, you've been working on this for a long time comparatively to some of our other LEAs. And it's just a good vision to share. I think the construction of, I always call them little buildings, but of those little buildings that can be a campus for your early childhood learners is a great model because, schools come slowly. They're expensive, they're large, but a building that hosts 4 classes to 10 classes, I think is a great model to help make sure that our youngest learners have adequate space built for them in mind.
And I'll be happy to share with Dr. Miller the mock-up. I may not know if mock-up is the correct terminology, but I'm happy to show the mock-up document that talks about that structure just so that she can have that to share with the subcommittee.
Thank you so much. That was a great presentation. And now this is a great place for us to come up with innovative ideas so other counties can also copy or replicate. Gina, you want to introduce the next speakers?
Sure. I lost track of who was going next. Was it
Shannon Roberts.
Okay. So Shannon Robert is from the Office of Early Intervention. So welcome, Shannon, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you for having me this evening. I do have a presentation to share with you guys today. Just as an overview, it'll be a little bit easier to kind of explain our processes. If you give me 1 second just to get it up for us. All right. So I am one of the instructional facilitators within our office. I help support primarily our preschool and pre-K special education students prior to age kindergarten. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about our continuum of services that we offer through our Birth to 5 special education services in Howard County. Talk a little bit about IEP supports and implementation through our PALS model, which actually goes out into our community sites, as well as is beginning to go into our home childcares as well to provide IEP services, and then a few other resources that Ruby had asked that we provide for you. We do ask that if there's any specific questions about specific students for confidentiality purposes, we can't speak about it here, but would be more than willing to answer any questions regarding individual students or needs. So in Howard County, we have kind of within early intervention services, we have kind of two groups that are running simultaneously. On the left-hand side, we have our birth to 3 population, or what we call our infants and toddlers programs. Those students qualify with a 25% delay. The primary model that we use for these students is a coaching model with the primary caregivers. So that primary caregiver may be a parent, it may be a family member that takes care of the child, it may be a child care provider. And we use a primary service model where one provider goes into that location in the natural environment and helps do coaching with that caregiver. We do look at functional outcomes related to the child and the family needs through our individualized family support program. That IFSP can be extended up until as they're approaching the year before kindergarten. So typically it goes through age 3, but there are some families that choose to extend it up through that 4th year. Once a child turns 3 and they're still eligible for IEP services, they may qualify under a different category. There are 13 federal categories that we look at for disabilities, and they must qualify for one of those to enroll in our special education services. Services once you turn age 3 up to age 21 are direct services directly with the child, and they come from a variety of professionals, not a single primary model that we had in our infants and toddlers model. They do focus on an individualized education program. So instead of having family and child outcomes, we focus more on goals and objectives related to educational outcomes. Here you can see just a little bit of our birth to 5 services that we have within Howard County. We have several different options for families and for our younger children. Infants and toddlers, as I said, is really our birth to kind of 3+, depending on how long they would like to stay on that IFSP. Some of our students, once they turn age 3, may come in just for a single service model. They might come into the local elementary school to get single services such as speech-only services. Those are what we call our walk-in students. They come in for maybe 1 half-hour session with a direct provider. We also have our PALS program, which I'll be talking a little bit more about, which is our special education, speech services, and occupational therapy that is provided in our community settings on an itinerant model. So there is a maximum number of hours we're able to provide since we're in so many community settings. In addition to that, within our school buildings, we have our 3-year-old classrooms, which include our preschool classrooms. We also have a set of programs called our multiple intensive needs classes. We have one for our 3-year-olds, one for our 4-year-olds, and we have one that's a mixed age group. Those are for our students with more significant developmental delays. Similar to the 3s, we have a 4-year-old classroom. These are our pre-K classrooms and our MINC PK program. We're in the process of converting these classrooms, our 4-year-olds specifically, over through the blueprint to co-taught classrooms for all of our 4-year-olds in Howard County. That's a very strong belief that we have in Howard County. So we work together with our early childhood program. We've converted about a little over half of our programs currently of our 4-year-old programs have been converted, with the move towards moving those forward with our upcoming budget cycles that we have, as well as staff allocations. So those will be co-taught with special education and general education teachers and an inclusive model. Our mixed classrooms are more of our more significant needs students. Our MINC EL, or Early Learners Program, has a specific methodology for children more on the autism or developmental delay spectrum that have a methodology need that is different than a typical naturalistic learning style. Cedar Lane is our private separate day school, our public separate day school that it houses our most intensive needs students as well with disabilities. I'm going to talk a little bit about our PALS program for you guys, which is our Promoting All Learners Success is what that stands for. PALS is a program where we have been providing services for a number of years through consultation and coaching, as well as direct services to the actual child from a special educator, a speech and language pathologist, and just recently we've added an occupational therapist as well to address IEP needs in our community-based programs. Where the child has been placed by their child, the parent has made that initial that's important to them to be in that community setting. We provide those services on an itinerant basis. And most recently in the last year, we have started adding, also providing these services, not just in our community school-based programs, but also in our home child cares, where students and families have chosen that as their setting of services. We are starting to work approximately, I believe we're still under 10 at this time, but those are home child cares where they have been part of the Blueprint Expansion Grant or part of the pre-K expansion grant and have accreditation. So all of the programs that we work within the community are accredited. We do provide, as we said, coaching and consultation with the staff members, but we also provide direct services directly with the students to provide accommodations, how to be successful in that community setting, and that we also have agreed that we can continue to provide with fidelity the IEP services that are required to implement for them. And so that's why it is an itinerant model. And again, very close partnership with our community providers as well as with the family members for our young children. As we said, our special instruction or our educators provide up to 2 hours per week direct services from our special educator. Those are assigned currently. We have 3 special education teams that include a teacher as well as a paraeducator and a speech pathologist. They kind of work in tandem together in different community settings. And then our occupational therapist floats between the 3 kind of teams that we have. Speech services can vary from about an hour to an hour and a half maximum, where that speech pathologist again provides direct services and or consultation or coaching model with the providers. Articulation may become a component of that speech and language services. However, at this time, we are not offering the PALS model for students that have articulation only needs. Those students are primarily served. So when they're working on specific sounds, those students primarily are served within that school single model where they come in for walk-in services to the local elementary school. More of our students on the PALS model may have articulation, but they also have other additional needs in addition to that. And finally, we've done more of our occupational therapy, more recently added, where they provide direct services and consultation model for fine motor and or sensory concerns that we might be seeing. Might make suggestions to the classroom activities as well as for individual services and sensory ideas for the individual student. In addition to that, Ruby asked us to talk a little bit about support for English language development learners. What we're finding in Howard County, and I know probably all the research is out there, is that the evidence-based practices for early childhood really are very similar to what it is for an English language development young child as well. Those things include very structured expectations, schedules, and consistency, language-rich environments, which all of our programs really focus on, hands-on learning, use of visuals, really help to build that vocabulary, repetition, whether that is repetition of language or repetition of activities where they have multiple opportunities to practice those skills across environments in multiple ways, small group work, allowing them to have that independent work in terms of center play-based learning as well as small group activities, and again, multiple opportunities to practice those things. So when we're really focusing on our English language development in Howard County, we're also promoting a lot of the things that are similar to our early childhood practices. One of the other things that we're finding is the social emotional needs of our younger children. And so we really have taken great focus on our pyramid model for social emotional competence. And it used to be called the CEPHL model, if you're familiar with that. And it's done through our National Center for Pyramid Innovations, Pyramid Model Innovations, what we call NCPMI. And I have a link here and I'll drop it in the chat box in just a minute. And it's really our primary focus and our groundwork that we use for all of our social emotional development for our infants and young children in Howard County. It's a tiered model that starts by looking at universal supports for all children. What is good practices for all of our young children for social emotional and mental health development? Moving to a kind of next level where we then work on targeted supports for those at-risk students. And finally, the smallest population where we might be doing more intensive interventions for those with more significant needs. And all of those being supported by an effective workforce that can help address all of those needs for our younger children. Finally, in Howard County, we wanted to make sure that we always share our referral process. We have an open referral process. In birth to 3, we do use the Maryland Online Infants and Toddlers Referral System that is done through the website with the information here that you can see on the screen. For our children 3 to 21, parents can make a referral to Child Find, which you'll see the information here. That's our referral system where we look at that. And then in Howard County, we also have, similar to other jurisdictions, our Family Support and Resource Center. They're the great value of being able to answer family questions about the IEP process, the IFSP process, and as well as about being able to hook up and connect families with other families that may have gone through similar circumstances or continue to grow and need additional answers. So that's one of the things that we always like to share is about how do we refer our students. Birth to 3, that is anyone that can make that referral. After the age of 3, it is parents directly that must make that referral. So many times for our birth to 3 families, we have childcares that are providing that. We have families that are doing that, but we also have pediatricians and our local health care providers also providing referrals for us. Office of Family Children Services is another partnership that we have in addition to in addition in Howard County. One of the things they do is our Care Line, which provides information and referral to local resources, linking parents to behavioral intervention supports out in the community, as well as childcare and elective things. They also provide our infant and early childhood mental health programs within their area. And they again have a family support center as well for free comprehensive services. So again, here are the 3 coordinators. Jen Riccardi is our coordinator for early intervention services. She's attending the Howard County board meeting today for our work session for the budget upcoming. So unfortunately, she was unable to join us today. Cindy is joining us with some technical difficulties. She primarily supports our infants and toddlers program, birth to 3. And again, I'm Shannon Roberts, the preschool and pre-K support instructional facilitator. And welcome to any questions that anybody might have.
I just want to say, I think it's great the support that you're providing for the private providers. I know sometimes, that can be a challenge with the community providers, just even being able to sit in on IUP meetings or how to implement that IUP in their childcare facilities. So I just think that that's great. And, I hope that we can, maybe provide more support throughout, just like you guys are doing in Howard County. I did have a question, and this is just more for curiosity. When you were talking about how you are switching over to the COTOP model for pre-K, how many students are you keeping in that classroom? Are you keeping it at a lower number because it is a COTOP model, or are you going to keep that as a full class of 20, being that there's 2 teachers in there?
So we have 2 similar models. One is I'll talk first about our pre-K classroom. That's our more typical pre-K classroom with students with less significant IEP needs in there. Those classrooms are a full 20 of students in there. Typically, our range is about 15 students that are meeting the income eligibility requirements and 5 students with IEPs. That really mirrors the national trends of inclusive data that we have. Those classrooms typically have that general educator and special educator and support staff. Our multiple intensive needs pre-K classrooms, which are also co-taught as we're converting over, are kept at a little bit lower rate. So they do max out about 14 students, and we're going for a 50-50 ratio of students with and without IEPs in that classroom. Again, with that special education and general education staff and support staff, we've also added an additional staff member in that classroom because of the needs of most of those students. And again, we've converted about little more than half of our 4-year-old programs and are in the process of converting the rest of them over the next year to 2 years.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Shannon. That was an amazing presentation. And Jacob, I know you have a hard stop at 6:30. We're going to miss you. Do you have anything?
No, I think this has been one of our best meetings. I've really appreciated these presentations we got tonight, and it's really nice just to hear at a large scale what people are doing. I think one thing as a thought, I'd really like to hear from maybe some of our Eastern Shore or Southern Maryland or Western Maryland counties, just because of the difference in scale, what it's looking like for them right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I did reach out to Hartford, and hopefully we'll gonna have some other counties that will be joining us next meeting. I'm so excited to introduce our next speaker. It's Kathy Sipes, my academic advisor in Notre Dame, and she will tell us about the new program that they have in Notre Dame.
Well, first of all, thanks everyone for all the presentations. It's really great to hear, number one, how innovative and hardworking people are in trying to provide for our youngest students. And also, I think these kinds of committees and the networking that happens really enables us to share ideas and collaborate, which teaching, education is a collaborative process. So it allows us to do that, I think, more often than before. So my little report really only deals with my little corner of the world, which comes from a more academic kind of perspective, I, work at Notre Dame of Maryland University and have always been one of the advisors. But another hat that I wear there is that I'm the coordinator of the CCPDF program. And I've been in that role for about over 10 years. And when I started, we had about 13 students that were in it. And looking forward, we're going to have close to 100, I think, in the coming years. So early childhood educators are really taking advantage of the opportunities that are provided for them. And I don't know if that has to do with publicizing them more or the increased effort that has come along with the blueprint or whatever, but I think it's fantastic because from an educator's point of view, I was a principal, obviously started as a teacher and then was a principal for many, many years. And I think the best thing we can do for our kids is to provide them with great teachers every day. And because education is constantly changing and our techniques and strategies and the needs of kids, having early childhood and all educators, have the availability of current research strategies and coursework that really enables them is a big plus. So in the work that I did with the CCPDF grant, which was available to folks who were getting, it's at the community colleges that people are working on associate's degrees, people are working on bachelor's degrees, and people are up for the last 3 years also have been enabled to get master's degrees or just take certification classes through the grant. So the biggest two stumbling blocks that happen. One is that timing is always a challenge because when folks come to us, their backgrounds are very, very different from one another. So some students have, let's say in the master's program, they have a degree in business, but now they are working in early childhood and have had a lot of professional development along the way, but they haven't had coursework. And so they have to take classes and things like that. So that's kind of one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is somebody who has a degree in something very similar, and it probably has taken some education classes. But for some of the grants that are out there available to early childhood educators, they're limited in the scope of the grant, the timing of the grant. So by the time the university applies for the grant, gets the grant, and it gets implemented, time is ticking away. And so the number of classes that a student might be able to take gets minimized because they have to take them before the end of the grant. So that's an issue. It's not an issue with the CCPDF grant because that's renewable every year. So however long a student takes is fine. And that's great because all of our students are working full time and they have their own families and multiple responsibilities. The timing is a challenge, but the biggest stumbling block has been that the internship component of the degree or the certification process has always had to be in a public school. And that's been a problem for home care providers because for many of them, that's their livelihood, that's their business. So in order to do a semester-long internship, some of them had to either dissolve their business, which it was not feasible for most of them, or hire someone to come in and fill in for them while they were trying to do the internship. And so there have been conversations that have been going on with MSDE for a very long time and making progress, but still no definitive answer up until we had a meeting early in January and found out that they're in response to all of these many conversations, and I know many letters that have been written and things like that, that there was a decision made that there would be much greater flexibility provided for people who were in early childhood to be able to do their internship semester at their early childhood setting. As long as obviously it was, a setting that, was providing excellent educational opportunities for the kids. So many of the students that I work with have taken multiple options, like they're involved with Aspire, they're involved in taking classes with us. They are in one of the grant programs. And so there's really been a lot of support for them. And now they're able to really bring that experience to culmination and get their certification in their own center. Now that for us has just happened. The first 2 people that I have doing it are getting master's degrees and they're in their own center. I've been lucky enough to be their university supervisor during the internship. semester and have been able to go to their center and see what they have. And really, it's very, very impressive, the quality of work that those folks are doing. So I'm really happy that that is moving in that direction. I'm still waiting to see a written announcement from MSDE, which they promised us. I made Dr. Cook repeat this 4 times in the course of the meeting, because it was like, I couldn't almost believe my ears. I've been waiting so long to hear these words that, we were going to make that provision for folks in the early childhood setting. But so I haven't seen it in writing, but there were lots of people at that meeting. So many of us heard that, and Notre Dame is moving ahead with that, because it was never really it wasn't a stumbling block for us, because as a university supervisor, I can go to a center, I can go to a school, I can go to a home center just as easily. That's not the issue. The issue was the state requirement, because the university is obviously beholden to follow the guidelines and the requirements of the state. So that's tremendous good news. I have about 14 home care providers that are ready to do internships in the semester coming up, and I'm looking forward to really supporting them as they go through that process. So that's, I think, the great news, that it's the best news that I've heard. And people, Ruby being one of them, was dancing a jig when I was able to let them know, because it changes everything for our early childhood folks. And they've taken the time and the effort and the wherewithal to go through all of these classes and all of these credits. And it was ridiculous for them to not be able to bring finalization to the certification process. So now they can. We're happy to help them go through that. And so far it's going very well. So I'm happy to report that to you.
Thank you, Kathy. That's an actual game changer for us, because we don't have to close our program, and the families will not lose their childcare for 16 weeks. So that's amazing.
Right.
Yeah. So, any questions from anybody? Rachel, do you want to close us out? Or shall we just? So our next meeting is in May 2nd, and it's at 5:30 to 6:30. So if there are counties that would like to come and join us and talk about what they're experiencing in their counties, whether it's a positive or whether they're struggling about something, we'd like to hear from them. I know Jacob did mention Eastern Shore and maybe Cecil County or Hartford, that, or we did do Western Maryland. So if you think of any counties, or if there are other resources out there from other counties that would like to come and share in our space, we would like to welcome you. Please contact me or contact the AIB, and we would love to have you. Again, if there's anything that the committee wants to say at this point, please say so.
Just thank you all again for coming. It's like I said before, it's just great to hear from other counties, and props to Prince George's County, 30 schools going through accreditation at one time. I can't even imagine. I have 6 right now, and that gets wild. So shout out to you guys, but just thank you to everybody for coming, and it's great to hear from you all.
Thank you to all the wonderful guests. And if there's nothing else, we would like to say good evening to everyone, and have enjoyed the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.